Hey everyone, welcome to Francis's Wisdom, your go-to channel for diving deep into the life-changing teachings of Pope Francis. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Today, we're tackling a topic that's at the core of Pope Francis's mission: mercy. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. You think practicing mercy is easy? I mean, it sounds simple. Just be kind, forgive, and move on. But let me tell you, I thought it was a breeze until I tried it myself and failed not once, not twice, but 3 times in just one day. Yes, 3 times in a single day, I completely missed the mark on showing mercy. And let me tell you, those failures were a wake-up call that made me appreciate Pope Francis's teachings on mercy more than ever. So, stick around as I share my story, unpack what went wrong, and explore how Pope Francis's wisdom can help us all become more merciful in our daily lives. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see mercy in a whole new light, and you might even be inspired to try it yourself. Let's get started. First, let's talk about what mercy actually is. You might think mercy is just about being nice or feeling sorry for someone, but it's so much deeper than that. In Christian theology, mercy is an act of love and compassion, especially towards those who are suffering, in need, or even those who've wronged us. It's about seeing the humanity in others and responding with kindness, forgiveness, and care, even when it's hard. Pope Francis has made mercy the heartbeat of his papacy, calling it the very foundation of the Church's life. In his 2015 apostolic letter, Misericordiae Vultus, the face of mercy, he writes, "Jesus Christ is the face of the Father's mercy." These words might well sum up the mystery of the Christian faith. Mercy has become living and visible in Jesus of Nazareth, reaching its culmination in him. This idea of mercy isn't new. It's woven throughout the Bible. In the Old Testament, God is described as merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Exodus 3:46. In the New Testament, Jesus embodies mercy through his actions, like forgiving sinners, healing the sick, and dining with outcasts. One of the most powerful examples is the parable of the Good Samaritan, where a stranger shows compassion to a wounded man despite their cultural differences. Jesus teaches us, "Go and do likewise." Luke 10:37. Mercy, then, is not just a feeling. It's a call to action, a way of living that reflects God's love for all of us. Pope Francis has taken this biblical call to heart, making mercy a central theme of his papacy. From his first days as Pope, he's emphasized that the Church should be a field hospital for the wounded, a place where sinners are welcomed and healed, not judged. In his book, The Name of God is Mercy, he says, "God never tires of forgiving us. We are the ones who tire of seeking his mercy." This message resonates deeply, reminding us that God's mercy is infinite, and we're called to mirror that mercy in our own lives. Now, let's get personal. I want to share the story of a day when I set out to practice mercy, inspired by Pope Francis's teachings, but ended up failing miserably. It was a regular Tuesday, and I just read a homily where Pope Francis talked about showing mercy in small, everyday moments. I thought, this is it. I'm going to be merciful today, no matter what. Spoiler alert, it didn't go as planned. My first failure happened on my morning commute. I was driving to work, already running a bit late because, well, mornings are tough, right? I got stuck behind a car that was moving at what felt like a snail's pace. The speed limit was 40 miles an hour, but this driver was barely hitting 20. They hesitated at every intersection, stopped at yellow lights, and seemed to take forever to make a turn. My patience wore thin fast. I honked my horn a couple of times, hoping they'd speed up, but nothing changed. By the time we reached a red light, I was fuming. I rolled down my window and shouted, "Come on, move it. Some of us have places to be." The driver didn't even glance my way. They just kept staring straight ahead. When I finally passed them, I gave them a glare, sped off, and got to work still annoyed. But later that day, as I reflected on my actions, I felt a pang of guilt. What if that driver was elderly and nervous on the road? What if they were lost or dealing with a disability? I had no idea what their story was, yet I judged them harshly and reacted with impatience instead of compassion. That was my first failure to show mercy. Instead of seeing the person behind the wheel as someone who might need understanding, I let my frustration take over. My second failure came at work. I was working on a big project with a tight deadline, and one of my colleagues, let's call her Sarah, made a mistake that set us back hours. She'd miscalculated some data, and we had to redo a significant portion of the work. When I found out, I was livid. Instead of addressing the issue calmly, I confronted Sarah in front of the whole team. "How could you mess this up?" I snapped. "This is going to make us all look bad." My words were harsh, and I could see the hurt in her eyes as she apologized profusely. After the meeting, I cooled off and realized I'd been way too hard on her. Sarah was already upset about her mistake. She didn't need me piling on. Pope Francis often talks about the importance of forgiveness and understanding, especially in moments of human error. "In the name of God is mercy," he writes, "we are all sinners, but God heals us with an abundance of grace, mercy, and tenderness." I hadn't shown Sarah that grace. Instead, I'd humiliated her, failing to practice the mercy I'd set out to embody. That was failure number 2. The third failure happened on my way home. As I walked through the city, I passed a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk with a cardboard sign that read, "Hungry, please help." I had some change in my pocket, but I kept walking, telling myself he might use the money for drugs or alcohol. I justified my decision by thinking there were better ways to help, like donating to a charity. But as I got further down the street, I couldn't shake the image of that man's tired eyes. I remembered how Pope Francis often visits the poor and homeless, seeing Christ in them. In his 2013 apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, the joy of the gospel, he writes, "We are called to find Christ in them, to lend our voice to their causes, but also to be their friends, to listen to them, to speak for them, and to embrace the mysterious wisdom which God wishes to share with us through them." By ignoring that man, I'd failed to show mercy to someone in immediate need. Even if my small donation wouldn't solve his problems, it could have been a gesture of kindness, a way to acknowledge his dignity. That was my third failure of the day, and it hit me the hardest. Reflecting on these 3 moments, I realized that practicing mercy is tougher than it looks. Each failure stemmed from a different flaw: impatience with the driver, anger with my colleague, and prejudice toward the homeless man. These are human weaknesses we all struggle with, but mercy challenges us to rise above them. Pope Francis teaches that mercy is a bridge that connects God and humanity, opening our hearts to the suffering of others. My failures showed me that without consciously choosing mercy, we easily slip into judgment, frustration, or indifference. But here's the thing: those failures weren't the end of the story. They were a chance to learn and grow. They made me dig deeper into Pope Francis's teachings to understand how to practice mercy better. So let's explore what he has to say about this powerful virtue. Pope Francis has made mercy the cornerstone of his papacy, and his teachings offer a roadmap for living it out. First, he emphasizes that mercy is at the heart of the gospel. In his first Angelus address as Pope on March 17, 2013, he said, "The Lord never tires of forgiving." It is we who tire of asking for forgiveness. This message is a reminder that God's mercy is limitless, and we're called to reflect that same generosity in our interactions with others. One of the most significant moments of his papacy was the Extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy from December 8, 2015 to November 20th, 2016. During this year, Pope Francis opened holy doors in cathedrals worldwide, symbolizing the path to God's mercy. He also appointed missionaries of mercy, priests with special authority to forgive even serious sins, like those reserved to the Holy See. The Year of Mercy wasn't just about personal forgiveness, it was a call to action. Pope Francis encouraged Catholics to practice the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, like feeding the hungry, visiting the sick, and forgiving those who've wronged us. The corporal works of mercy include feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, clothing the naked, sheltering the homeless, visiting the sick, visiting prisoners, and burying the dead. The spiritual works include instructing the ignorant, counseling the doubtful, admonishing sinners, bearing wrongs patiently, forgiving offenses willingly, comforting the afflicted, and praying for the living and the dead. These acts, rooted in Jesus' teachings, are practical ways to live out mercy every day. Pope Francis doesn't just talk about mercy, he lives it. One of the most iconic images of his papacy is from Holy Thursday 2013, when he washed the feet of inmates at a juvenile detention center in Rome, including women and Muslims. This act of humility shocked many, as it broke with tradition, but it sent a powerful message: mercy knows no boundaries. He's also visited refugee camps, hospitals, and prisons, showing solidarity with the marginalized. In 2016, during the Year of Mercy, he made monthly Mercy Friday visits to places like a home for the elderly and a community for recovering addicts, listening to their stories and offering comfort. Pope Francis also links mercy with social justice. In his 2020 encyclical Fratelli Tutti on fraternity and social friendship, he writes, "A truly human and fraternal society will be capable of ensuring in an efficient and stable way that each of its members is accompanied at every stage of life, not only by providing for their basic needs, but by enabling them to give the best of themselves." This vision of mercy extends beyond personal acts to addressing systemic issues like poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. So, why is practicing mercy so hard? For me, it came down to three things: selfishness, impatience, and prejudice. When I got mad at the slow driver, I was focused on my own schedule, not their struggles. When I snapped at Sarah, I let my anger override my compassion. When I ignored the homeless man, I judged him without knowing his story. These are common human tendencies, but mercy asks us to push past them. Pope Francis reminds us that mercy isn't about feeling good. It's about choosing to love, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Let's look at some historical context to understand mercy's role in Christianity. In the Old Testament, God's mercy is a recurring theme. The Psalms are full of cries for mercy, like Psalm 5:11, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love." The prophets, like Hosea and Micah, called Israel to show mercy to the poor and oppressed. In the New Testament, Jesus is the ultimate example of mercy, forgiving sinners like the woman caught in adultery and healing outcasts like lepers. His parable of the prodigal son shows a father's mercy toward his wayward child, a powerful image of God's love. Throughout Christian history, saints have embodied mercy. St. Augustine, in his Confessions, reflects on how God's mercy transformed his sinful life. Saint Faustina Kowalska, a 20th century Polish nun, spread devotion to the divine mercy, which Pope John Paul II later championed by establishing Divine Mercy Sunday. Pope Francis has built on this legacy, making mercy relevant in today's world by addressing modern challenges like migration and climate change. Now, Let's get practical. How can we practice mercy in our daily lives, especially when it's tough? Here are 5 tips inspired by Pope Francis. 1. See Christ in others. Pope Francis often says, we should see Jesus in the poor and suffering. When you encounter someone in need like a homeless person, imagine you're helping Christ himself. This perspective can transform how you respond. 2. Forgive from the heart. Forgiveness is central to mercy. If someone hurts you, try to let go of resentment. It's not about excusing their actions, but freeing yourself from anger. Pope Francis says, forgiveness is a force that resurrects to new life and gives the courage to look to the future with hope. 3. Serve the marginalized volunteer at a soup kitchen, donate to a charity, or visit a nursing home. These acts of service reflect the corporal works of mercy and show love to those society often overlooks. 4. Practice patience. Mercy requires patience, especially with difficult people. Next time you're frustrated, take a deep breath and ask yourself, how can I show mercy here? Pope Francis's patience with critics is a great example. 5. Pray for mercy. Ask God for the grace to be merciful. Pope Francis promotes prayers like the Chaplet of Divine Mercy to open our hearts to God's love and help us share it with others. These steps aren't always easy, but they're transformative. Let me share a personal story to illustrate. A few years ago, I had a falling out with a close friend over a misunderstanding. We stopped talking for months, and I held on to a lot of bitterness. During the Year of Mercy, I heard Pope Francis speak about forgiveness, and it hit me hard. I reached out to my friend, apologized for my part, and forgave him for his. It wasn't easy, but we reconciled, and our friendship is stronger now. That experience showed me that mercy can heal wounds and restore relationships. Another example comes from history. Saint Damien of Molokai, who lived among leprosy patients in 19th century Hawaii. He cared for their physical and spiritual needs, even at the cost of his own life, contracting leprosy himself. His mercy transformed a community of outcasts, giving them hope and dignity. Stories like these remind us that mercy, though challenging, has the power to change lives. Mercy also has a broader impact. During the Year of Mercy, millions of Catholics participated in pilgrimages, confessions, and acts of charity, inspired by Pope Francis's call. Parishes reported long lines for confession, and many people returned to the church after years away. Globally, Pope Francis's advocacy for refugees and the poor has spurred action, with organizations like Caritas Internationalis expanding their outreach. To make this interactive, let's address some common questions about mercy. Q. How do I show mercy when I'm angry? It's tough, but start by pausing and praying for calm. Reflect on your own need for mercy, which can soften your heart. Pope Francis suggests offering a small gesture, like a kind word, to break the cycle of anger. Q. Can you be too merciful? Mercy should be balanced with wisdom. Forgiving doesn't mean enabling harmful behavior. Pope Francis advocates for mercy with accountability, like supporting rehabilitation for offenders. Q. How do I teach my kids mercy? Lead by example. Show them mercy in your actions, like forgiving a sibling's mistake. Share stories of Jesus' mercy, like the prodigal son, to make it relatable. So, what's next? I challenge you to practice mercy today. Maybe it's forgiving someone who cut you off in traffic, helping a neighbor, or praying for someone who's hurt you. Every act counts. Share your mercy stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this video inspired you, give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to Francis's Wisdom for more content like this. Together, let's make mercy a way of life, just as Pope Francis teaches. God bless you all.